Welcome back to Unfolded, the show that discusses the latest trends in business, tech and culture. My name's Joe and I'm really interested in how businesses make money.
Hey, I'm Karan and I love businesses of the future.
And I'm Marco and I'm really interested in technology and design.
So without further ado, let's get started. Hi guys, this is the Startup Spotlight where we discuss a really interesting business that we found and share it with the rest of you and have a bit of a discussion around it. So taking it away this week, I guess I'll start. So
What do you say? I'll start. Like, you're the only one doing it.
Yeah, I was going to say taking it away, it's me. So this week I'm going to be taking the Startup Spotlight, and the business that I'd like to talk about today is one called Seenit. And Seenit is a company that turns your fans into your film crew. Now, how that works is that if I've got an event that a media company wants to cover, instead of going through the really costly and time-consuming process of hiring a firm to film that for me, I can utilize the power of the crowd to do that heavy lifting on my behalf. So if I sign up with Seenit, I can choose the group size that I want. I can make sure that these people are at the event that I'm going to be at, and then I can tell them, giving them a bit of indication about the kind of shots that I want from that. So if I'm a media company, it's really costly at the moment for me to hire a film crew, and it's also really time consuming. So as opposed to going down the traditional route, what I can do now with Seenit is utilize the power of the crowd for them to film it on my behalf, and then I will do all the collation afterwards. So I can create a group within the Seenit app or the Seenit online platform, and I can give people that are at the event an idea of the shots that I want to get, which they can later upload to the platform, and I can review it, and they're compensated based on the kind of footage that they send in and I choose. So that's the entire idea of Seenit. It's a really interesting model using the power of the crowd to do something that would generally be completely in-house for a media company. So what do we think?
Yeah, I mean, this seems something really new because I've never seen it. But apart from that, I'm just wondering, how do you ensure the quality? Because with more traditional forms of filming, you're having a crew which is reviewed well, ideally has a good reputation. How do you control for that with the crowd?
Yeah, really good question. So the way that they do that at the moment is that they have some really interesting video analytics. So within the platform, they can tell automatically, or the plan is that they would be able to tell, whether the camera has like sufficient quality of video in there. So that could be things like filtering out really shaky footage. If people are in a live situation, oftentimes that can affect the end quality. Also, is the exposure right for the video? So it's all things that a machine can do ahead of time, and then they can just pick from the best of the best takes.
I see. And do people need to be informed in advance about this, or can you actually ask them to upload the footage after the fact and still use it?
At the minute, the model that they work from is that they use a group. So if I'm going to an event, I would select to be part of a group. Seenit would allow me into the group, and then they would tell me what kind of shots they want to get. So there isn't that ability at the moment, as I understand, to get retrospective footage. Again, that might be something that they've developed on since I looked into this.
Because I think this would be really useful for news agencies, especially, because it could be just a really easy marketplace for them to purchase clips of some major events that have been happening.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are the benefits for the person who's going to film it? Why should they film it and upload it and give it to this company?
Sure. So I guess we all know, if we've been to kind of music concerts or football games, the first thing that you'll notice in that environment is that everybody's already filming this stuff. So it's not necessarily footage that somebody has to go out of their way to shoot. It's part of the experience, wanting to share that as social creatures that we are. We're sharing it to Instagram, Snapchat at the same time. So it's essentially using something we already have. On the top of that, I'm getting paid to do something that I was already doing in the first place.
Okay, how much do you get paid? How does that work exactly?
So it really depends on the quality of the footage you submit. So at the moment, you have a review process. So within Seenit, after all this footage is being collated, they will choose the best bits. They will send it to the client to review, or the person that's commissioned this piece of filming to be done. And then on the back of that, based on the contract between Seenit and the client, they will arrange the compensation for each person submitting the video.
Okay.
So it would depend on things like how much video they used in the end piece of production, how long the video that you shot was, and how good quality it was as well.
Okay. So I'm guessing the company makes money from these publishers, so the people buying this footage?
Exactly. So it's effectively a really similar model to the way that they charge, to the way that film production companies charge at the minute. It's a contract basis. So you would sign up for a certain period of time with Seenit, and within that time you would have a certain number of shoots that you can commission the Seenit group to take for you. So it's a really, really great way of getting people familiar with the idea of using crowdsourced footage. But then on the back of that, I think they do a 3-month trial at a reduced rate. And then if you want to continue, here's what we can do for you. Here's what we can do for you later.
Yeah. Why would a company choose to use Seenit instead of going with a big production
my question's
company?
exactly.
Number one, cost. The amount of money it costs to hire a proper production company to shoot that, edit that. Seenit has also now introduced, I understand, into the platform the ability, once we've collected that footage, I can crowdsource the editing of that as well. So I can hire somebody, a freelancer effectively, within the Seenit community to edit all of that footage I've got. Number one, cost. Number two, you don't get that same level of how organic the footage is from somebody that was paid to look at one shot and one shot only. If you're able to select clips from a wide range of different angles and also different scenarios within the event, then you're covering far more area in there as well.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, because I know a lot of people who just have cameras and for most of the time it's just sat there. So this could be some way for them to like mobilize their stationary assets, so to speak. Right?
And when we think about how it works, the whole crowdsourcing, this was a trend that we saw in businesses towards the late 2013-14. So if we think about how it works, this crowdsourcing model was originally used for companies that were trying to raise funds. So you would see things like Crowdcube or Kickstarter, where you can back a certain startup and receive either a monetary reward in the form of like equity, or you can receive perks. And on the back of that, it's a really, really interesting use of this new model in something as antiquated as the filming industry.
What happens if no one wants to film it? If no one signs up to film a certain event?
Then you've paid 50 grand for nothing.
What's the traction like at the moment? Are people using it a lot or?
Yeah, I've got a couple of notes here on some of their clients. So one of their most famous clients was Adidas. Adidas used that for a brand campaign, I understand. They've also worked with BT Sport and the National Lottery. So these are really, really big brands. And I think what they're going for there is that they're able to support the community of people going to these events already. And at the same time, they're able to capture an event from a wide range of different angles, as opposed to just, here's 50 grand, I want you to get this shot from this angle and send it to me.
Yeah, that actually sounds really cool. If you know that your footage might end up being on BBC or an Adidas ad, that kind of encourages someone to actually film it. Do you know if they credit people?
After the footage is being paid for from the individual, it's completely anonymized. So because they are paying for the privilege of being able to use that footage under their brand, it's kind of irrelevant at that time.
Okay.
But the way that we saw other people doing it before is that it was quite common for, if I wanted to use crowdsourcing, I would pay a few people up front and they would literally dump all of their footage into a file for me to use and edit later. But that was just a really inefficient way of managing, and you also had to know all of the different people in the group personally before to do that. So Seenit's a really, really cool way of connecting people that want footage with a group of people that are there with their camera already and want to earn some extra money.
Yeah, I can think of some really cool concepts you can come up with this. For example, they can have a leaderboard so people with the best quality of footage or the highest duration of footage shot in the past month, they just like get recognized for that and build up the community like that. So I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a really good way to get everybody involved in this whole thing and kind of making it more democratic.
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole way that I found out about this company was the CEO, Emily Forbes, she's called. She featured on a TechCrunch Disrupt event in 2016. They do the Startup Battlefield, which is where all of the different startups, I think it was 14 that year, pitch their idea. And she won it. So she got a huge set of PR from that. And all of a sudden, you would imagine that all of these brands are now coming to her and saying, you know, we want to be some of the first people to pilot this.
Awesome. I mean, I'm not surprised because she's already called Forbes. So,
yeah. She's already on the Forbes 30, under 30. That's a list of people that are... Yeah. Did you know that?
Forbes under 30.
Forbes 30 under 30.
Yeah.
30 under 30, yeah.
It's just really bad.
Joe.
Yeah.
All right. All right, this guy.
Cool.
So that was today's Startup Spotlight. Thanks very much for tuning in, guys. Feel free to leave any comments in the section down below. It always really helps the feedback that you guys give us in terms of new ideas that we can come with for next week. We really enjoyed filming it as always, and until next time, we will see you there. Take care.